Yesterday, I had a conversation with a courteous young psychiatrist, well credentialed with numerous qualifications. He was a specialist in psychiatry, dealing with the complexities of mental health. During our discussion, I expressed my gratitude for his attentive ear and shared the turmoil within me. I confessed to feeling lost, overwhelmed by a desire to end my life to escape the agony gripping my chest and stomach. Despite reassurances from my general practitioner that my physical health was sound, I sensed a profound disturbance within my mind. I pleaded with the doctor to allow me to recount the events that led me to this juncture, hoping for guidance in navigating through the storm. My name is D. Malik, and I am married to Peter Malik. Over the span of our decade-long marriage, we have chosen not to have children, a decision I communicated to Pete before we wed, albeit aware of his desire for offspring. The reasons behind my reluctance may lie deep within my subconscious. Throughout our marriage, I diligently managed contraception through oral contraceptives, save for a recent lapse due to an oversight in renewing my prescription. 2 months ago, Pete disclosed to me his diagnosis of a brain tumor, a revelation that shattered me. Despite his own distress, Pete comforted me, and together, we spent the day discussing contingencies and reaffirming our commitment to each other. That evening, our lovemaking was fueled by a mixture of fear and desire, temporarily eclipsing any thoughts of contraception. However, amidst this turmoil, I must also confront a painful truth. During this period, I was engaged in an affair with Pete's business partner, Jacob Platt. This dalliance, short-lived and devoid of genuine affection, was a regrettable mistake. The news of Pete's illness served as a wake-up call, prompting me to end the affair abruptly and recommit to my marriage vows. As I recount these events, I grapple with the complexity of emotions and the profound impact they have had on my life. The very next day, I took action. I had a prearranged meeting with Jacob, and despite the decision to end our entanglement, I honored the commitment. We convened at the Palm Desert Motel the following afternoon. I conveyed the news of Peter's situation to Jacob, declaring an end to our affair, although his response lacked empathy. In a coercive manner, Jacob compelled me to engage in one final encounter under the threat of exposing our liaison to Pete. Reluctantly, I acquiesced, but vowed it would be the last. Jacob agreed, and we engaged in physical intimacy. However, I felt degraded and ashamed afterward, realizing the extent of my actions. Nevertheless, I emerged from the encounter liberated from Jacob's hold, swearing never to repeat such transgressions and to safeguard my marriage at all costs. In the ensuing weeks, under medical guidance, Pete began preparations for his surgery. We adhered diligently to the doctor's instructions, implementing a regimen of vitamins, dietary changes, and exercises. As a team, we faced the challenges together, finding strength in our unity despite the circumstances. The preparatory phase lasted nearly 2 months before the surgery could be scheduled. The operating physician provided comprehensive information about the procedure, emphasizing Pete's pivotal role in his own recovery. The success of the operation hinged not only on medical factors but also on Pete's determination to overcome the illness. Given the tumor's proximity to vital brain regions, a positive outlook was imperative for favorable outcomes. I reassured the doctor of our loving and supportive home environment, pledging to do everything in my power to sustain Pete's morale. A week later, the surgery was deemed successful from a medical standpoint, placing the onus of recovery squarely on Pete's shoulders. I remained by his side as he regained consciousness, relieved when he recognized me. Despite his physical discomfort, Pete exhibited a resilient spirit, buoyed by our mutual reassurances. His progress was gradual, with his mental state exerting a significant influence on his demeanor. I endeavored to uplift his spirits through humor and affection, recognizing the profound impact of his mindset on his healing journey. However, a ray of hope illuminated my despair. I could barely contain my excitement as I anticipated sharing the news with Pete the next day. This news, I believed, possessed the power to achieve what countless medical interventions couldn't. It would invigorate my husband, Pete, with the will to recover. What was this news, you may wonder? It was the sight of 2 intersecting lines on the little stick I held in the bathroom that night, an unequivocal sign of a positive result. I was pregnant. Pregnant with Pete's child. While this conception stemmed from a lapse in my birth control regimen, I saw it as a miraculous twist of fate, a beacon of hope amidst our trials. Overwhelmed with joy, I danced around our home, embracing the unexpected blessing bestowed upon us by my oversight. The following day, I eagerly visited Pete at the hospital, observing his discomfort but biding my time until the opportune moment to share my revelation. I wanted the announcement to be perfect, timed impeccably. As lunch came and went, and Pete's medication took effect, I noticed a slight improvement in his demeanor. Sensing the right moment, I returned later to share dinner with him. He appeared better than he had in weeks, reinforcing my conviction that the time was ripe. Seated beside him, I clasped his hand, gazing into his eyes as I began to deliver my news. "Pete, my love, I have a surprise that will fill your heart with joy. Although unplanned, a mistake on my part has bestowed upon us a tremendous gift." I paused, relishing the anticipation in his eyes before revealing the news. "Congratulations, Peter. You're going to be a father. I'm pregnant. Our baby will soon need its father's love and care. So, your task is to recover swiftly." My elation faltered as I awaited his response, bewildered when his reaction failed to match my anticipation. Tears welled in his eyes, a reaction I interpreted as overwhelming emotion. However, my hopes for a speedy recovery dwindled as he turned away, his words unsettling. "D, I have a favor to ask. In the top drawer of my desk at home, on the right side, there's an envelope. Please bring it back with you tonight." His request perplexed me, compounded by his insistence on my departure despite my presence. Attempting to assuage his apparent distress, I protested, "But Pete, there's no need for me to leave. I'll stay until visiting hours end." "And why this sudden change in demeanor? Aren't you happy? You'll be well in time for the baby's arrival. You just need to—" My words were cut short by Pete's abrupt plea. "Please, D. Just fulfill my request. Bring back the envelope and then we can talk." With that, he turned away, leaving me in a state of bewilderment. Despite my confusion, I resolved to humor him, acquiescing to his request to retrieve the mysterious envelope from home. Throughout my journey home and back to the hospital, I grappled with confusion and disbelief. Peter had always longed for children, and now the news of impending fatherhood should have been cause for celebration. Why couldn't he embrace this joyous revelation? What was holding him back? Was he fearful of not surviving to witness the baby's arrival? Such thoughts seemed irrational to me. I was determined to dispel any doubts and assure Pete of his recovery. This news had to be a catalyst for positivity, instilling in him the belief that he would not only recover but also excel as a father. Upon my return, armed with the mysterious envelope, I burst into Pete's room, exasperated yet resolute. "All right, mister. I've got the envelope. Now, what's so urgent that you fail to realize you're about to become a father? You're going to embrace this role with the same passion you've always shown." Pete accepted the envelope, his hands trembling as he extracted a single sheet of paper. After a brief pause, he handed it to me. "This was meant to be my anniversary gift to you next month, D. I arranged it 6 months ago, but kept it a secret until all the tests were conclusive. Please read it." As I scanned the contents, I saw the name of Pete's urologist at the top. My eyes gravitated toward the bottom, where numbers and a key message caught my attention. "Procedure successful. Motility count 0. No live spermatozoa." Pete's solemn voice cut through the turmoil in my mind. "I underwent a vasectomy for you, D, so you could stop taking birth control pills. Knowing your aversion to them and your stance on children, I made this sacrifice out of love. I cannot be the father of the child you're carrying." Emotion overwhelmed me. I pleaded for understanding, but Pete's gaze remained fixed on the window. A nurse intervened, ushering me out despite my protests. For 3 days, I attempted to breach the hospital's barriers, only to be rebuffed and eventually banned from Pete's presence. He refused all communication attempts. On the 4th day, desperate for reconciliation, I stormed into his doctor's office, imploring to see him. Dr. Wallace met me with a solemn expression. "Yes, Mrs. Malik? What can I do for you?" My desperation shifted to pleading as I begged to see my husband, to rectify the misunderstanding. "Please, I have to see him. There's been a terrible mistake. I need to explain, to beg for his forgiveness." I'll do anything, but I must see him. Dr. Wallace's response shattered me. Weren't you informed? Your husband passed away this morning. His condition deteriorated 4 days ago, and despite our efforts, we couldn't save him. I'm deeply sorry. I thought you had been notified. So, doctor, that's the extent of my tale. I unwittingly shattered my husband with the revelation of my pregnancy. In that moment, I realized he couldn't be the father, a fact he grasped instantly, but one that blindsided me until I saw the evidence of his vasectomy. Then it hit me. Jacob. Perhaps the condom I insisted he use failed in his fit of rage that day. There's little more to divulge. It's been 3 months since Pete's passing, and I'm nearing the 5-month mark of my pregnancy with what society would deem a bastard child. The young doctor offered little solace, opting for cliches and reassurances. He embarked on a journey to mend me, emphasizing that infidelity doesn't directly cause death, nor does a broken heart. He urged me to accept that Pete's demise wasn't my doing. While his intentions were noble, I graciously accepted his words, though I harbored no plans to keep our scheduled follow-up appointment. I'm cognizant of the truth. I'm responsible for Pete's demise, burdened with the guilt of failing him in his time of need. My betrayal severed our bond, while carrying another man's child delivered the final blow. Yet, I endure, alongside Jacob's offspring, the child that should have been Pete's. Initially, I contemplated termination, but Jacob intervened, adamant about assuming legal fatherhood. He insists on being a part of the child's life, citing his legal rights. However, I adamantly refuse. I know Jacob's character, and I won't subject my baby to his influence. The joy I once felt, believing I carried Pete's child, has dissipated. But perhaps I can amend the wrongs. I'll introduce my baby to his true father. Together, we'll seek out Pete. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel not to miss new videos.